Hey everyone, this is your host Brian, and welcome to episode 36. Today's topic, Donkey Kong 64 and the use of straight-up real semi-automatic weapons in children's games. Find out about all that and more on this week's episode of the Pause Button Podcast.
To my recording and I wasn't listening to what you did.
So I'll just tell the story then. So the story is when they were making have you guys played Donkey Kong 64?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great game. I love it. I was just watching a stream of it, and they were talking about how when they were making the game, you know how everybody has their guns, like you got the coconut gun and the peanut gun, pistols and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So during the development, they put like guns, like weapons, just average bullets in like as a placeholder, and they when you get so used to something that's just there for now, you just kind of So they were showing the game to Miyamoto, and like at one point, DK just pulled out a rifle and just started shooting stuff. And they looked over, and Miyamoto was like disgusted, like, what? What did you do to my character? And in that moment, he immediately starts drafting out like a little drawing of the coconut gun.
Oh, wow.
Guy's a genius.
That's cool that it worked
Been at
out.
it for like 20 years. I think 10 years at that point. 10, 15 years at that point. And then he's just like, anyway, here's this genius idea right on the spot. It's like, okay, you deserve everything you've ever gotten. I get it.
It makes it seem so easy.
I wonder why he thought of like coconuts. Are there any monkeys that you know of that eat coconuts?
No, but there's a real... they were hungry when they made that game. Like, you collect all the bananas, multiple bananas. Like, the big bananas, the little bananas, the banana coins. There's a lot of bananas. And then your health is a watermelon. And then they start shooting coconuts and peanuts and pineapples. And do you remember what Lanky Kong shoots?
No, not at all. I barely remember this game, but I remember playing it.
It's a classic for sure. It's different, but it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Is there an underwater part?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's the third level. Third or fourth level. It's like a creepy underwater. They're the crystal cave.
Yeah.
They're the sand place. That place was fun. The camel trapped in the cage.
Mm-hmm. Do you get to ride the camel at all?
I mean, that was in Donkey Kong Country, so I don't want to say no, but that's a good question.
I actually rode a camel once.
I will continue watching their stream and report back to you in our next episode.
Gloss over me saying that I rode a camel. Fine.
Yeah, right, dude.
Oh, wait. Well, I didn't hear that. What?
Yeah, I rode a camel once in college. It wasn't like a weird... well, it's a little bit of a weird story, I guess. I don't know. It was like Israeli Independence Day or something, so they had a camel rented on the South Quad at college, and they were like, if you make a donation, you can ride it. And I had to wait like an hour to ride this camel, but it was pretty fun. I have a video of it still.
What? That's on you. You should have showed me years ago.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll put it up like on the Instagram or something so people can watch it.
Yeah, they can see you on the camel.
Yeah. I love that. Look at our Instagram. We're at Pause Button Pod. It's gonna be a whole bunch of like thumbnails and like video game and movie stuff, and then Joey riding a camel, happy as can be.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good like teaser. People will be like, "Wait, what's this about? I gotta listen to the new episode."
Yeah. Joey, do you have a fun camel themed name for this week with your pasta? I don't know.
I was gonna be the lonely linguini.
Okay, I could take Lonely Linguini. That's a nice name.
Yeah. It's sad, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a pun here or a joke about pasta, but I can't.
Well, how about we say I'll be the lonely linguini for this episode because of the ending. We know what the ending is gonna be. And that's a little keep listening to this episode. Please don't stop.
Joey, if you need a space to open up, I am your fettuccine friend, okay?
Oh, thank you.
We got Devante here. Devante, you want to give your little name?
Same as always. I'm just a retro guy.
Thank you for being the rock, the stability, the pillar. As everything changes, the world is on fire. Our names change weekly, but
yes,
the audience can always depend upon Devante being the retro guy.
Damn
If
right.
we had money, we would put in "Lean on Me" by Bill Withers, but we don't have money.
You don't think
Not
we got
nearly
Bill
enough
Withers money?
Just pause this episode. Pause it. Come back to it after you're done listening to Bill Withers.
Yeah, go listen to Bill Withers a little bit. Who's Bill Withers?
He wrote the song "Lean on Me." What the fuck do you think I'm talking about? I know you know that song. They played it in high school like a million times.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
of course I know. I didn't hear the lean on me part. I don't know why I'm not
okay.
listening to you today, but
I was like, what?
Brian, all he heard was "lean," and he was getting his palate wet. He said, "Let's do some drugs."
whoa,
Ooh.
all right, I'm not.
I know. I'm sorry. I got really dark. Let's
My name is not with D or drugs or anything today. I'm on the letter G. So I went with the gratuitous goodbyer. The gratuitous part, because I got a bunch of fun facts for this episode, and the goodbyer part we'll get to later.
Oh, look at you. You're doing the same thing.
Sneaky sneaks.
It is now later. I'm just gonna leave this episode, and you guys can just take it from here. I'm gonna leave the Zoom call now.
Do I have
Alright,
no.
see ya.
Yeah, I think this is where it ends.
You know, shorter episodes are nice sometimes. We could do a 7-minute episode.
Let's
Just
get right,
cut it in,
everybody.
like a tenth of what we normally do. 10%. Like, I feel like this has been a solid episode we got here. Tom, what's our next topic? You guys good to go into the main topic now?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, real quick, like I said, look for us on social media to watch Joey ride that camel at Pause Button Pod. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that fun stuff. And if you're enjoying this episode and you enjoy it overall, you have a fun time, look forward to us posting an episode on the 19th and the 26th. We're going to have a Thanksgiving episode, so those should be some fun times. And also, we just wrapped up streaming, so if you want to watch the final video of Pat and I beating Resident Evil 2, and we're going to do it right after this, so presumably crying, but I'm not sure yet. That will happen. Look up for us on Twitch at Pause Button Podcast. But for now, welcome to the Pause Button Podcast. 3 times a month, your 4 favorite hosts, Pat, Joey, Devante, and me, along with Tom, the intolerable Florida Tech Man, will take a topic, delve into its past, discuss its present, and debate its dazzling future. And we'll do our darndest to entertain you along the way. You can expect surprising facts, funny jokes, deeply depressing monologues, and of course, unrelated witty banter. So whether you're watching a movie or playing a video game, sit down, shut up, and open your ears. It's time for you to relax and hit pause.
So after listening to the last episode, I just want to say that when you guys called Tom the Florida Tech Man, it made it seem like he went to college at Florida Tech or something. I'm positive that there is a Florida Tech college somewhere.
I think
in
there
Florida,
is.
So, yeah,
Are they the Seminoles, or is that Florida State?
that's Florida State. I know because I bet on them once for March Madness and lost money. So
Hey, at least you never bet on New Mexico State winning the March Madness championship like I did.
that's true.
It's in Melbourne, which apparently they have in Melbourne, Florida.
Oh,
Nice.
Wait, Tom's the president there? Huh? No, okay.
so
All
what's
right.
today about?
Yeah. Today we're talking about Inside Out, the 2015 movie from Pixar. Came out 5 years ago in the middle of June. A nice summer movie. Everyone's definitely out of school at that point. And, it's an enjoyable ride. You want to give our first initial impressions here?
First impressions for me, I kind of was I feel I was misled. I thought this movie would be different than it was, and there was a lot of hype about it. And it's not that it was good. It's not that it was bad or anything, but I think it was less good than I thought it was good.
Okay, that's an interesting opinion to have.
I
Devante,
definitely
how did
think
you
this movie is not for kids.
Really?
Like, you have to be like a teenager to even understand what's going on in the movie. If you're like, I feel like you're a kid, you're like, oh, this is just pretty colors, you're just doing crap. But like, to actually get what the movie's trying to do, I think you have to be at least like close to being a teenager like the kid was in the movie.
That's actually a pretty good point.
Absolutely. In my research, I saw that that's actually something that they worried about. That this was going to be something that you would have to, to hope that kids could understand, because abstract thought and literally
Yeah.
jokes about abstract things where they go and turn into shapes and everything, like it's a lot. And then there's the emotional weight of everything, obviously with, emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think kids understand emotions until they get like later in age.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand my own emotions at this point today, so I God help the children, man. So I feel we talk a little bit about the cast and crew, because the crew was some like juggernauts of the animation field, and the cast was like near perfect.
Pretty good cast. I was a little bit surprised. That totally didn't sound like Amy Poehler to me for Happy or whatever it was. Joy. Never mind.
Yeah, I
Thank you for
said the same
remembering the main
thing
character's name.
until like I heard her like screaming. I was like, oh wait, that's Amy Poehler. But then until that, I was like, I had no idea who this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of Leslie Knope vibes from her, of like the everything's fine and like trying to hide and shut down people who are negative. Like that's kind of what led me to like, oh wait, it is Amy Poehler, isn't it?
Yeah. That was
Right.
That's actually, I didn't think of a really good casting too. Was Sad, I thought.
Yeah. So Phyllis Smith plays Sadness. They named her Office character after her. She's Phyllis in The Office too. So
Yeah.
I don't want to typecast somebody, but I mean she's pretty set in that role. She's got it down.
I mean, I don't think she minds the paycheck she gets for playing those roles.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Inside Out made a lot of money. Did you guys catch who the discussed actress was?
I only know because I looked it up that it was
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly from The Office.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. They were both on that show together.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got two people from The Office. I got a fun story with when she went in, like to get the job and everything. They pitched the story to her, and he turned around and he started to like talk about like the visuals on his computer and everything. And then he turned around and she was just crying, and he's like, "What? Do you not like it?" But she the quote she had was, "Sorry, I just think it's really beautiful that you guys are making a story that tells kids that it's difficult to grow up and it's okay to be sad about it." And I was like, that's a nice way to wrap it up. In fact, like when they heard it, they're like, quick, write that down. That's a good way to write what this movie's about. Like,
Yeah. I like her a lot.
And
I actually started reading, she has a book called Why Are My Friends Hanging Out Without Me? And I actually thought it was really I never finished it, but it was really funny, the parts that I'd read.
Joe, you can just ask us. We just don't. There's only so much we can take. No, it sounds like an interesting book, though.
Yeah, it sounds
I'll
pretty
have to
cool.
look it up. Obviously, you guys know who Anger was, of course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lewis Black and all that. In fact, when the director Pete Docter pitched the idea to the head of Pixar at the time, John Lasseter, they're like, "Imagine the fun we can have with casting. Like we could cast Lewis Black as Anger," and then that's how we got it.
That's how it happened.
But he says when they pitched the idea to him, they sent him a box of old Pixar films and a letter, and he's like, they kind of suggested that I might not know who Pixar is, which meant that they were crazy, or they thought I was just some kind of recluse. Like, if you haven't heard of us, here's something a little thing we did. It's called Toy Story. Lewis, do you like that? Like,
Hey, check us out.
Yeah.
I swear we're good.
I could kind of see him not knowing. Like, I could kind of see him being a recluse.
I don't know if he's got kids and everything, and maybe he's just angry all the time, and he just sits in his room and listens to metal in the dark.
Yeah. The only other person who I was thinking, like, while I was watching this in terms of comedians, who I feel like would have done a really good job with Anger would be, like, Bill Burr. He always gets so mad, so I feel like he would have been good, too. But I don't know if he's, like, as kid-friendly.
If they wanted to do a PG-13 version or rated R, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
So the director Pete Docter, there's some interesting stuff about him. So he's currently like the head of Pixar. He took over, but he describes himself as a geeky kid from Minnesota who likes likes to draw cartoons. When people are talking about how to write for the characters. The other people on the staff were just like, Joey's just you, Peter. Like that you are Joey. So he kind of got that, like, articles about him have described him kind of like Tom Hanks in Up. Like he's very youthful and full of energy and stuff like that. As you can imagine from a guy who works at Pixar.
Wait, who was Tom Hanks in Up?
Not Up. What's the movie where he grows up? Big.
What is it?
Big. Tom Hanks in Big.
I was like, he was an Up?
Yeah.
Tom Hanks played the dog. He did all those barks, man.
He talked for like a second.
Yeah.
But he seems like a fun guy. Like his sisters were both string players, and like his family was musicians and everything. So he never really got into it. But when he worked on Monsters Inc. and Up and everything, and WALL-E. So he learned to play the upright bass, so he could play on the soundtracks to Monsters Inc. and Up. He's in the orchestra there.
Wow,
that's cool.
And definitely his biggest credit, he was an animator on Jerry's Game, the old little short where the old dude playing chess.
Yeah.
Oh.
Easily Pixar's greatest work. And
but now
the
that
music.
You mention it, I actually remember the upright bass in Monsters Inc. is actually like pretty memorable. At least I feel like in the end credits or something. Like I really remember that upright bass. Like it's very catchy in the theme. So credit to him.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. I don't remember the soundtrack at all, but okay. I'll take your word for it. And then the music was done by Michael Giacchino, who did Rogue One and Zootopia, and he's also doing Batman coming out in 22. So, he's a standard, good selection for music.
Yeah.
Now, there's a scene I want to talk about in terms of casting, because Joey and I both enjoyed the scene. But Devante, did you like with the two security guards with the "my hat" joke?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was some good writing. So the voice actors there, it was Frank Oz, like Yoda and like Miss Piggy and everything. And then the other guy, oh no, I didn't write down his name. But he does Gonzo and like Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and everything.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I've never thought.
Like they got like huge people that could easily like be a starring role for like 20 seconds. Just a little joke. I guess that's what if you have $100 million budget. It was a very funny joke. So we at this point, do you guys want to get into the development of it or the story of it?
Whatever.
Story, I guess.
Okay, let's talk about the story a little bit. So the very first thing I want to mention is that at one point while they were writing the story, it wasn't going to be her running away. It was her wanting to get the starring role in a Thanksgiving play as the turkey. And they decided to cut it because it was just too bizarre of a story. And I want to say, give me the turkey cut. I want to see that movie.
No, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Imagine getting all angry that like
the
her
right
best
decision.
friend got it.
That sounds so terrible. Why would she want to be the turkey?
Yeah.
Leading role, man. You got to get that front and center spot.
But wait, hold on. What is the turkey doing?
Gobbling and running away from hungry villagers with axes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like...
She wanted to get the beheading scene.
It's hard for me to imagine like such strong emotions about a turkey
right
role. Like it just doesn't seem like it would hit as hard at all. So
like, damn, I got Pilgrim instead. God damn it.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not what they went with. And then they started to do the same story they got now, but instead of joy and sadness, it was joy and fear, because they thought that would be like a fun interaction between one being afraid of everything and one just being excited about everything. And it just wasn't working, and he started to feel like the movie might not work and that he was like a failure. Docter, the director. And like he went on a walk and he was like, well, this might mean I need to leave Pixar because I don't know what I'm doing. And then if I do that, I'm going to miss all like my work and we'd lose my house. But I'd miss my like friends and coworkers the most. And then he was like, wait, like emotions are what connects us as people and everything. And like that missing sense is kind of what brought him into the sadness thing and accepting sadness and all that with the story.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat little insight as to how movies are made.
Yeah, and I definitely think that running away is a form of like, I feel like kids can understand that, I don't know if you guys, when you were little, like, did you ever try to run away? Because I did a couple times. Like, not, I never got far. I just got like down the block or like around the block or something like that because I was way too young
weak.
to like even go anywhere.
That's Joey.
But,
I made
like-
it to Nebraska. That's so weak.
Oh, damn.
But did you guys ever try or no?
No, I mean, I definitely went to a park I shouldn't have. That's about it.
Was this a dangerous park where
Yeah.
the kids were smoking and all that? Okay.
And all the kids who smoking, all the gangsters hang out. I was like, I'm going here. I don't care. That's where all the cool kids go.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Now I think about it, I was like, I probably should not have been there.
I'm actually glad you're okay.
It was literally like 10 blocks away from my house at the time, too, so it's pretty far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Definitely made it farther than me. I was like figuring out what toys to take and shit. Like,
I packed a bunch of corn because I knew they'd accept me in Nebraska if I brought corn with me. No,
I love the corn.
I don't remember. I mean, I probably did. I don't remember too well. I have a very bad memory. The jokes about the long-term and short-term memory in this with like the dudes with the vacuum that just throw shit out. I felt that. I was like, those guys work overtime in my brain, man. They're always
they were my
yanking shit off
favorite.
the shelves.
Yeah, especially they had that commercial that
Yeah.
plays.
It's like, we can't get rid of this one. And it's like
Yeah.
the shiniest one there.
Yeah. And there's
if that was-
like that reminded me of like 1877 cars for kids.
Yeah.
And shit.
Oh no! Shout out to whoever wrote that. If it was Michael Giacchino or whoever, but they wrote a catchy like jingle that actually sounds just like a catchy jingle, and it's catchy as hell. Good for them.
Yeah. I don't know if it's nationwide or if it's. Oh, you're talking about the one in the movie. I was still talking about Cars for Kids. Never mind.
No. You know, God's please smite the people who wrote Cars for Kids. God damn, man, that thing is auditory just abuse at that point.
Yeah.
Do you think the guy who wrote it's plagued his whole life? He wakes up and it's all he hears. He like goes insane because of it.
I think his
Probably.
friends probably make fun of him a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's like, remember you got rich off Cars for Kids?
And
Yeah.
he's like, hey, remember this car I bought with that money? And he drives off in his Lamborghini, like,
Yeah.
fucking him off.
It was like his horn.
I don't know how to go from the guy who wrote Cars for Kids flicking off his friends, but back to our topic. But I feel like we got a little off topic there.
Yeah.
But like, so what are you guys' thoughts on this movie? Like, what did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? For me personally, I really like the like jokes that sadness would make. It's that like sad sense of humor I can always get behind, and how they show different people's emotions inside their heads, where they all kind of look like Riley's, but you know, like the dads had mustaches and the moms had the mom's hair, and how they interacted together, like that dinner fight scene that was done really well.
Yeah. I definitely liked the small parts of this movie. I thought made up for a lot in terms of like how I was let down by the movie of plot a little. Like I just really enjoyed the creativity of the people that you said were in charge of keeping track of like the long-term and short-term memories. Those guys, the guys who had the hat conversations, and just the creativity of the world that they created, I thought was one really beautiful, like in terms of animation wise. I liked how Joy glowed, and like even when they're trying to sneak into like that abandoned part of like the subconscious memory, like you can still see her like glowing in the dark and different stuff.
Absolutely. I felt weird about the like skin of the characters. How it was like not really skin. It was like just particles, like always moving. But then I looked up that they were
Yeah.
trying to portray that like, you know, emotional energy, like they're made out of energy, and it's just always kind of representing that amount. Also, I don't know if you saw it as much. I didn't like. I saw it occasionally, but they were influenced by 1950s Broadway for the animation.
I didn't get that.
I
but
guess.
maybe like I'm just imagining like the big like signs with all the light bulbs, you know, like the Chicago Theater and all that. And I'm like, maybe like I don't know.
Okay.
That being said, I have no idea about any 50s Broadways. Like,
Yeah.
was that like Oscar and Hammerstein? Was that like around that? What the Rogers and Hammerstein? Oscar Hammerstein's his name. Like, was that around then? I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah, you lost me on that reference.
Yeah. I have no idea.
So let's get into the Joey. What did you want from the plot? What would have been a better setup?
let Devante say what he liked about the movie.
Oh shit! Sorry, I'm sorry, Devante. Go ahead.
I know, basically the same thing that Joe said. Like, I like all the small details because I thought the plot was kind of, like I said before, it doesn't really, I guess, appeal to kids, like 10 and under, really. Because, like, if I'm a kid, I was like, I have no idea what the heck is going on. Like, I don't know what short-term memory is or, like, why she's upset. I mean, I guess they're kind of relating to people who might have to move. But yeah, I mean, I really like the small attention to details. I really liked, I actually really liked Envy, or Disgust. That's what I should say, Disgust.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just love how she just, like, always snarky comments in the background. Or how she, like, used her disgust to make anger to save him at the end of the movie. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that relates a lot, especially, like, teenagers. I think she should have been more, in the movie. Like, she should have been used more, especially during the school. Like, they used her for a little bit, saying, like, you know, you can't talk to the cool kids because that's how you become cool. But I feel like she wasn't used nearly as much in the school setting because it was very brief, I guess.
Yeah, that is another good point, too, actually, that what I kind of, getting into, like, what you thought maybe I expected from the movie, I thought that the other emotions would be more prevalent or more prominent, like, throughout the movie. And I felt like they were really, like, cast to the side, and joy and sadness were, like, obviously the two huge, like, main players. But I wanted to see more from the other emotions as well.
I think I can sum that up as Bing Bong was a more central character to this than half of her emotions.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And I feel
Bing Bong, bro.
100% confident saying this. Fuck Bing Bong.
Yeah,
You know?
dude, it's such a waste of time. He could have showed up for like 30 seconds, and that would have been it.
I get the message of, like, saying goodbye to childhood and growing up, and, like, that's all emotional. That's great. And that scene with the rocket, I get it. But I despise Richard Kind. I can't stand that man.
So is this a Richard Kind thing or a Bing Bong thing?
Yeah.
It's both. I didn't like him the whole time. I'm like, why don't I like this character? He's just insufferable. And then I start looking up the actors. I'm like, who's Richard Kind? And I see his smug face, his dopey loser, like, love me because I don't like him, man. I remember him. I was first introduced to him in Scrubs. Remember when he comes back in Scrubs and he keeps thinking he has stuff and he doesn't actually? And I hated him. I hated it. I can't stand his typecast for sure. And every time it's just an annoying character. I'm just like, just do anything else with the plot, please. I'm going way too hard into this.
Damn,
Yeah.
dude.
We're going to get a letter from Richard Kind.
Right? He's like, yo, DMCA, they use my name too much.
Yeah.
You know, I will say props to him. He knows what he can do. He does it well. There's a reason he's a millionaire. Like, I get it, but it's just not my cup of tea, and I made that very clear. But he's just not. I can't get behind it.
Does his character die on Scrubs? Doesn't he, like, always think he has something, and then doesn't he, like, end up having some point? Or no?
I hope
think so. Yeah.
Oh.
Damn. R.I.P.
Shout out to Scrubs, by the way. Good show.
Great show, man. Great show. Getting off the Richard Kind thing for a little bit. I get what you're saying. I thought that this was gonna be a movie of, like, her emotions reacting to what's happening in the world, and instead it's just Riley reacting to like her emotions, basically giving her brain damage as they go around and just destroy her head. And like it's not a bad plot, and I get who it's for. It's for, you know, kids who are going through that. You know, maybe they've moved. That's actually a big influence of this was Pete Docter moved when he was younger, and, like, he noticed that his daughter around, like, age 11 started to be a little bit more shy and reserved, and, you know, all the stuff like that. I get it. And if I was a parent and I had, like, a, you know, kid in middle school or whatever, I'd be bawling my eyes out at this movie. But I'm neither of those things. I'm just kind of in the middle. Like, it's enjoyable and I get what you're going for, but I wanted more. I thought it's such a unique idea, and I wanted to see that portrayed and used to interact. Granted, that's really hard writing. Like, they talked about how the dinner scene was really hard to write because that was their emotions just reacting to the real world, and that might be my favorite scene of the movie because it's exactly what I wanted. But it's almost like kind of like how we talked about the medium last week of the consoles having to portray two worlds at the same time. Like you have to write for the emotions and for the like real world, and that's got to be tough. So I get it.
Yeah, for how people use those emotions. So.
Yep.
Did he move to San Francisco, by the way?
No, he is from
The
Minnesota, but he moved to Denmark because his dad wanted to study Carl Nielsen, the composer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I think that was one thing in the movie I was like kind of confused about. I know they moved. Did they ever explain that it was for his work?
No,
Yeah,
it felt like they were going that
early
route.
on.
It felt like they were going that route where if, like when the dad goes off on the phone call, I'm like, is this gonna be like a work is bad, love your family kind of story? And
Right.
I'm glad they didn't go that way. I can watch Click. I've got that.
I just needed some closure, man. I was like, why'd they move to a shitty house? They had such a good house, and then in the shitty house, when he seems like he's like CEO, not a CEO, but like executive of the company or something, because he was talking about how he has to lay people off. I'm like, why did you buy the shittiest house in San Francisco?
No, the housing market in San Francisco. Joey, you know better with your brother.
Yeah, my brother lives in San Francisco, and I've been there a couple times, and I just want to say they got San Francisco right. San Francisco is dirty. It's a dirty place.
It's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
There's unfortunately a lot of homeless people there. Like to rent like a 500 square foot apartment. It's like astronomical. It's crazy.
Yeah, my brother at one point lived with like four different people, because I don't think one girl technically even had a room. I think they like portioned off like a living room part for her because she was supposed to find her own place, I think, eventually.
Okay.
But they were all paying like $1,500 a month, and
Damn.
that was like in like a 4-person apartment. So California is expensive.
Yeah, that's the lesson here.
Yeah.
Don't move to California.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to get into the development of the movie a little bit? There's some fun stuff here.
Yeah.
So the animators at the beginning of the film, when they first started to make it, I read that it's kind of like a male-dominated field, or at least it was back in the 5 years ago. I don't know if it changed much, but they made an effort to make sure it was 50% men and 50% women to be inclusive and everything. So I thought that was a nice little tidbit of them, trying to be, inclusive and everything. But and then they did some research with like psychologists and everything, make sure they got stuff down. And they used a guy named Dr. Paul Ekman's research, where he says there's 6 emotions because the psychology world, it's in complete disagreement as to how many emotions there actually are and what you can subgroup as stuff. And the 6 he had, it was the 5 in the movie, and then surprise, and they were like, surprise is basically fear. And they told the guy who studied psychology, like, we know better. So and then another guy, Dr. Keltner, who's a professor of psychology at USC Berkeley, where he kind of talks about how sadness is for community bonding. And I thought it was like, what else did I have here? They were talking about how like they actually kind of got stuff down of like how I didn't even realize this after watching the movie or going through life at this point, but emotions organize logical thought. They don't disrupt them. Like so many people are be like, you're so emotional right now, like be more logical. Like your emotions help you get to that logical point. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. This movie taught me something.
Yeah, that's
actually
cool.
pretty. I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, they really put in the work to make sure, like, the short-term stuff going on to long-term when she goes to sleep, and the memory dudes with a vacuum, like, I got that in my head.
Yeah. I actually thought the sleep part was pretty interesting in this movie, too. Like, the dreams, that was a good part.
Yeah, that was nice. When the like, how the camera translates everything to, like, look kind of dreamlike and everything, and when the dog gets cut in half, and it's like if this was like a live action movie, that scene would have been terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and I like how like I think it was Fear doing like the night shift or whatever at that point, watching the dreams.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, pretty bad actor. And I was like, that's actually pretty funny, because your dreams are always so weird. Like, they're not believable, but to whatever reason for you, like in the dream, it's very believable. So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
No, it's great writing of like him being like, oh, this plot point sucks this season. Like they could write better than this. Like it's a funny way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think overall, like coming up with the structure of how a head could look, that was nicely done. It could have been done so many different ways. And I'm not in love with like the island idea, but like the central hub with like the memories as balls and like things getting portrayed like, and then like when she becomes emotionally more emotionally mature, that like she gets a desk thing that has like all 5 of them working at the same time as opposed to just feeling one emotion. Like that's really good storytelling in terms of like adapting real emotion.
Yeah, and I actually did kind of like the island thing a little bit. I don't know that I was totally on board in the beginning, but I liked it when they started like crumbling and going away, because I felt like that like very nicely illustrated, I don't want to call it her trauma, but the emotional growth that she was going through, how you have to like, the world is different than you thought, like this has to be broken down so that you can build a new like part of it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, I did, again, them handling the sense of growth and growing up kind of destroys the past so you can move on and everything. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So as far as like how this movie did, it was $175 million budget and they made $858 million. So that qualifies as a success. It's the 6th highest box office for Pixar, and like basically 90% on all the big Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, all that good stuff. And a lot of reviews, I don't know if you guys remember at the time, but Pixar wasn't doing too hot. From 2010 to 2015, they had Toy Story 3, a sequel, Cars 2, a sequel, and I don't know how you guys feel about Cars, but I've always heard that it's just eh. Brave, which was, I feel like isn't remembered too well, but I never saw it. Monsters University, a sequel prequel that no one really needed. It's an okay movie, but it's like eh. And The Good Dinosaur, which is their like supposed worst movie. It's not like horrendous, but it's supposed to be like their lowest point. So up until then, it's just all kind of eh. And then they're like, here's this original idea. It's a fun movie. It handles things in a good Pixar way. And I think at this point, the company kind of looked at Pete Docter and they're like, you can do anything you want. You are perfect. Like WALL-E, Monsters Inc., this movie. Just take out all. This is your company now.
Was he the director when he did that? I guess not then.
For what?
Because you said he's like the director of.
Oh
Pixar,
yeah, no,
right?
sorry. Lasseter was the head of the company at this point. He's since stepped down, and I think in 2017 or 18, within the past three or 4 years, he's been promoted to CCO.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So he's kind of the head of it. It makes sense. I mean, that guy's. If you think about the works that he's done, he's basically modern day Pixar. Like I don't think he had too much to do with Toy Story, but everything's sense. It's like, yeah, he had a hand in it. He did it. All the good stuff. So
yeah.
And then of course it got the Oscar animated film because if Pixar puts something out, it's gonna get the Oscar for animated film. That's how that works, But it's the number 3 best reviewed animated film on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
I feel like that was a pretty high point. But it's a little skewed. I feel like as time goes on, more negative reviews come in because the number 1 is Toy Story 4, and like that's not the best.
Yeah.
but number 2 is Spider-Verse, so you know what? That's fine.
Okay.
That one's okay.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the short thing that's on Disney Plus, the Riley's First Date animated thing?
It was 7 minutes. I was like, I'm not doing it.
It's not worth it. If you see it if you love this movie, watch it because it's like a little dessert afterwards. It's a little cookie of like, oh, okay, it's all right. But it's just the kid shows up and you see the minds of everybody, and then the boy and the dad relate on music, and they paid for the rights to Back in Black for the 7-minute short, which must cost millions of dollars, but whatever. So I didn't like it that much, but if you like this movie, then I think it's good. And then there was talk of a sequel, and then they just said no, there's no sequel coming, which is fine. Pixar does enough sequels. Leave this as it is,
Yeah.
Did they hit the puberty buddy in the short?
No, they never got to the puberty button.
What?
I know, man.
Yeah.
That's like a Chekhov's gun of like it's gotta happen, and then
Yeah, I was like, at least do it by accident or something, like have fear fall on it or something.
That would actually be really funny if it happened by accident.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
what
then
I
the
was
boy's like
expecting in the
voice
end credits.
squeaks or something like.
Yeah.
Pixar, please hire me. So, let's get into the segment for today. True or false with a PH. Getting you caught up. We've had points. Right now, Pat's not here, but that's fine. Him and Devante are in the lead with 3, and Joey's a little bit behind there with 2 points.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, so that's on you. I don't want me to tell you. That's your work.
Make them easier.
Okay.
I don't know
I
why I
got
said
4.
easier like the easy or.
Easy or hard, and these things are kind of in the middle. So we got 4. Here's the first one. Inside Out's message of emotional growth might be universal, but some parts of the film needed to be changed for the international audience. Notably, this included the gross broccoli scene when Riley was a little baby, changed to green bell peppers in Japan, and the hockey game distracting Riley's dad's emotions changed to a soccer game, and also Bing Bong changing to a purple hippo, as pink elephants are seen as monsters in some parts of Asia.
I know it's gonna be like one thing. Like most of them are gonna be true. It's gonna be the one statement he said in all of it.
I'm gonna say
catching patterns.
Yeah, I'm gonna say false, because I believe a good portion of it, but I feel like it's really hard to. I feel like changing the hockey games to soccer games.
You know what? I think I'm gonna go true, because I think I did see a soccer ball in there somewhere at one point. But I don't know. The elephant thing is throwing me off. I'm gonna stick with true.
Okay, Devante, your instincts were right. The green bell peppers is correct. They did change that for Japan. Kids in Japan love broccoli. Well, supposedly, that's like the general consensus. I don't want to speak for all children in Japan.
Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of angry letters from Japanese kids. Who don't
It's like I hate broccoli.
And the soccer game is true. They did change it to soccer. Because hockey's a pretty like North American central thing, and maybe Europe too. But pink elephants, I don't know. I just made that up. So let's get to the next one here. Joey, you are now tied for 3. Everybody's at 3 points. Pixar, ever respectful to their past successes, included the wedding scene from the start of Up in one of the memory balls inside Riley's head.
Wait, say that one more time.
So one of the memory balls inside her head as they're going through the library shows the wedding scene from Up.
Oh.
Why would they do that? She wasn't there.
You don't know, man. The Pizza Planet trucks everywhere, so
Everywhere,
maybe Riley's everywhere, just a silent observer.
I'm gonna say false, and I'm gonna say it's something different. I don't think it's the one from Up, but I think they put something else in.
I'm gonna stick with true.
Hey, Devante, nicely done.
Hey.
It is true. Also, in Riley's classroom, there's a map with pinpoints like on the map in different spots, and those are all settings of previous Pixar films.
Nice.
They really go all out.
So the scene with the marriage from Up is in there?
Yeah, it's in a little memory ball if you look closely. I don't know the scene, but it's there. You can zoom in and see a little, the grumpy old dude, or when he's young, with the square head.
I thought me and Devante were going to be on the same page for that one, because he seemed like he didn't believe it.
I didn't, but it's Pixar, and they do stuff like that.
We got 2 more. While Inside Out was a massive success for critics, it's number 4 on Rotten Tomatoes for Pixar, audiences felt much different and ranked it number 14 out of 22.
Well, it's just got to be like 15 out of 22.
I wouldn't do that. I if it were false, I would pick a farther number than that. I'm not that bad.
I'm literally going to say whatever Devante says.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to go true just because I would rank it pretty low because I thought it was an okay movie.
I'm going to go false.
Hey, there you go, Joey.
Face. Yeah.
I didn't mean to make a face. Sorry. So Devante and Joey, you're tied now, 4 points. It is rated number 8 out of 22 by fans. So still top 10.
I'm tied?
Yeah, you're at 4 points now.
You just got 2 this time.
Oh, I thought... Wait, I got
wait.
both of those ones.
Yeah,
wrong.
no, he should have 5.
No, didn't he say false for the first one?
Wait.
I don't...
What
was right?
I thought
okay, you know what?
Right.
I'm leaving the points. I'm leaving the points when I listen to the episode and do the timestamps. I'll write who actually has points. Let's ignore everything I've said number wise up to this point. I worked at a bank once. Okay, so the last one here. This is the first Pixar film with no antagonist.
I don't know, man. Joey's pretty antagonist.
An antagonist is like a bad guy, right?
Yes, an antagonist is the Darth Vader like evil person guy.
Okay, I'm trying to think of like other Pixar movies. Like, okay, if I think of like Finding Nemo, I feel like there's not a lot of. I feel like there's not a clear antagonist there, unless you count the people who take Nemo. I'm going to say false. I think that they probably had another movie without an antagonist.
Yeah, I'll go Phalse as well.
You both got it wrong.
At least we were wrong
Boo.
together.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's all, circumstantial. Like it's all, like, you could argue Joy makes some bad things that cause some stuff to happen, but like none of it's intentional. No one's actively working against them. It's just people doing their jobs and them trying to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. I have no idea what the points are, but we'll find out soon. So, in terms of the present, what's going on for Pixar and for Pete Docter, they're coming out with a movie Soul. It was supposed to come out back in June of this year, but, COVID and all that. So it's now coming out on Disney Plus on Christmas. It's going to be right up on Christmas Day. And so Docter's directing it, even though he's, since it's the development started, he got promoted to CCO, so he's running the company and directing a film, so good for him. And it's co-directed by Kemp Powers, who really has a short list of works. Is Kemp a guy or a girl? I should actually check.
Just say they.
Powers. It's a guy.
Yeah.
So
we don't need to gender everyone, Brian.
Well, I don't want to get it wrong. That's all. So
Yeah, it's okay.
So he worked. He's the only thing I really noticed that he did was he wrote some of the episodes on Star Trek Discovery, that CBS All Access show.
Oh, wait, is that the animated? No.
No, that's the live action one.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's pretty new to it, and then the movie's written by those two along with Mike Jones, who wrote some English adaptations of some Studio Ghibli films. So.
Who?
Yeah. I feel like they're definitely doing that thing that Marvel tends to do a little bit, where they kind of take people who are up and coming. They've only kind of just started to break onto the scene, like before Avengers. Like what were the Russo brothers? Like they were just some guys from like Community and Arrested Development, and now they directed like the biggest movie of the history. So maybe that's kind of what they're going for here, trying to give people a break. I don't know. But
just bring in people with fresh ideas. I guess that seems fair.
Yeah. So, and they do say that this one's supposed to be very different from anything Pete Docter's done before. The story is Joe Gardner, voiced by Jamie Foxx, is a middle school music teacher, and he's trying to make it as a jazz musician in New York. And he kind of views music as like the reason he's alive and everything. And he finally gets his like big chance. Like he's gonna go play like his big jazz gig. I think he plays the piano. And on his way there, he essentially dies. He falls down a open sewer, like manhole, and his soul gets separated from his body, and his soul starts going to the great beyond, and he goes to the great before, like where you go before life, and he needs to make it to his soul before he dies.
Damn, that's dark as fuck.
Yeah.
It sounds dark.
Interesting. It kind of has like some Coco vibes.
Yeah,
I
it reminds me
guess.
of Coco.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Tina Fey's also in it. She's playing a soul that's named 22. I don't know why. But supposedly the soul hates humans and won't go to Earth, and that's why they've been stuck around in the Great Before for so long. And then other people involved are Questlove, Felicia Rashad, David Diggs, and Angela Bassett.
Cool.
So.
Do you know if they have like any like? There's probably like any famous jazz people in this, or like.
Yes. So
Okay.
the soundtrack is going to be perfect. I already know.
Yeah, I think that'll be a memorable soundtrack. I will
Right.
say for Inside Out, as far as the soundtrack went, I don't really remember a whole lot. So
It was fine. It got the job done.
yeah.
But so they hired consultants like Herbie Hancock, arguably one of the biggest jazz names alive, and John Batiste, the guy who does the music on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
That guy's really cool. He's got a really good sense of jazz, and like he's a great musician. And then the music for the movie, the score. So the ethereal stuff, the stuff that's going to be like, in the soul world or whatever, is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who previously did like The Social Network, one of like the highest reviewed film scores of all time. So that's going to be good. And then John Batiste wrote some jazz songs for New York, and sometimes like they worked together and like combined their, writing and everything. And then I just got to say, the whole reason I got into this movie is because the teaser trailer that came out, I want to say last year, uses Come Hang Out by AJR. And so I was like, okay, like that's enough for me to get in. And then let alone it's all about music and it's Pixar and I'm excited.
Yeah, this is basically right up your alley. So.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Don't fall into a manhole.
Yeah.
It is a funny scene. They show where it happens, and like he avoids like a car and a dog, and like it's just like, oh, and then he takes one step and goes straight in. So, it's gonna have that fun Pixar writing to it. There's already reviews out because it was supposed to come out like 5 months ago. The IndieWire said like some of the best jazz compositions, it uses a traditional framework to veer off in many unexpected directions, so that even the inevitable endpoint feels just right.
Cool. I'm interested in it. Definitely got me.
Yeah, Pete Docter kind of said it's kind of about you got a limited amount of time on Earth. What are you going to focus on? Like what are you here for? Mm-hmm. And like how being an artist is kind of like a selfish endeavor at times because you spend so much time with it. And I don't know, it sounds different enough. And I mean, it's focused on music, so that's enough for me. But
yeah, it definitely does sound. I actually thought so. I remember talking about this like in the past, this movie, and I just forgot the name, I guess. So they recently had like an original come out on Disney Plus that's called Clouds, and that has to do with music, I guess, because I'm looking at like the little thing on my phone, like the thumbnail for it, and it's like a guy with a guitar, and so I thought that that Clouds was Soul, I guess. And I was like, that's the movie they were hyping up? Like, this looks like it sucks. Like
that's the next big Pixar? Like, okay. Speaking of the next big Pixar, we got a very short little future segment for you here because there's not much out. We're getting one film in 23, 2 films in 22, and then one film next year called Luca, directed by Enrico Casarosa and produced by Andrea Warren. And it's set in the Italian Riviera. It's a coming-of-age story, and this kid's best friend is secretly a sea monster that lives in a deep underwater city.
I think it was because I was half paying attention, but I just didn't get that. What?
No, you're right. There's not much out about it, and it's set in Italy, and it's this kid growing up. And by the way, his best friend is a sea monster, but like a secret sea monster. So I guess they can transform or something.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, I was gonna say it sounds like the Japanese film Poyo.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I was like, that's what it sounds like. But Italian Poyo.
It's just another Lion King, Kimba the White Lion story.
Or it kind of sounds. It reminds me a little bit of like How to Train Your Dragon or something like that almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, friendship between like this crazy weird monster with a kid and everything. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like how they world hop and they just kind of like pick different points and kind of like focus on the culture and everything. Like we just talked about Coco, or I haven't seen Moana, but like it seems like they really respect the cultures and like the history of the places that they go to when they spotlight it.
At least I think they're starting to a little bit more. I think Disney.
Yeah, there's more of a Toy Story gave so much respect to Hasbro and the toy community of America. All right, I got one big question because this is I feel like this is a good way to just sum up this whole episode. But are Pixar films just tear jerkers? Like everybody remembers that scene from Up, and the past 3 out of 4 Toy Stories have tried to make you cry at least at one point. Like, are they trending towards just being, like, sad movies? Are they just there to make you feel things?
I'd probably say recently, yeah. I would say that they try to get you through the emotions of that way. At least try to. Not all of them succeed, but they try.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, like, I know people who probably wouldn't want to watch these movies because they feel like they know what direction they're headed in terms of, like, what they're gonna try to make you feel. So
we've had Nick on the show before. You can mention Nick.
Oh, okay, yeah, Nick.
Nick.
Like Nick hates Up. He hates Up, and I think Up is really good. Especially, I mean, the beginning is pretty well remembered, and that's definitely the part that Nick hates the most. So.
Up's a very interesting thing because I got a quote here from an interview with like the Hollywood Report and everything, but they kind of talk about like Pete Docter is very conscious about being too sappy, and he doesn't want to go overboard. Like he wants to be relatable, and you kind of earn it, where like we don't. They said we can't just add a sad beat because we need a sad beat in the movie. We spent a lot of time making sure we can get to that sad beat, that the audience is ready, and that we're not forcing it on the audience. The character arc has to take you there. So they do seem respectful of it. And I feel like Up's a really weird example because they're like, welcome to Up. This lady fucking dies, man. It's real sad. Like, that's the starting point. Like, they hammer it right out of the way. It's like coming into a room and getting punched right in the face with emotions. Like, what am I watching? And then, it takes off from there. I haven't actually seen the movie. But I feel like that one especially, it's different where for most movies, you go in, you meet the characters, it's a fun time, shit happens, and then they get sad, and then they beat it, Like this movie with the Bing Bong and everything, they have the moment of he jumps off, he's going to jump off the rocket and let her get up there, and he fades away, and then that allows, the sad moment where she finally breaks down with her parents, and
That's true, but like, where did you feel more upset? Were you more upset with Up or when Bing Bong died?
I was like, see ya, Bing Bong.
Finally, got him out of the script.
He's a murderer anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's a tough line to walk, and I am not fully versed in Pixar movies, so I won't claim to be like an expert or anything. But I do like that. I think it's a needed aspect. Like, there's so many kids movies out there. Like, if you wanted just a fun kids movie to tell your kids shut up for an hour and a half, put on Trolls 2. Like, Pixar's here to kind of like have that emotional weight, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't have kids, so I don't know what that's like. But like, even for me as a person, like, it's nice to see movies that react to this. It's kind of a long quote here, but I think it kind of sums up how I feel. It's from an interview with well, no, sorry, there's two different ones. Okay, so it was an interview with the Keltner guy that they did research with, and he's saying like he's seen it 3 times and it blows him away every time, and he gets a bunch of emails from like grandfathers who go see it with their grandkids and they start crying, and some 6-year-old men are saying that this movie is changing their relationship to their wife. I got an email from a mom who took her highly functioning autistic boy to the movie, and seeing the movie was the first time that this young guy had insight into his emotional difficulty. He said, "Mom, I know I have anger, fear, and disgust, but I really struggle with sadness and joy. I don't know where they are." And she said it was a really breakthrough moment for him, and like he was blown away and everything. So like there's good stuff that comes from this. They're kind of heavy and everything, but I think it's important. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it felt like, the world is crazier as time's gone on, and kids are more connected to it based upon like social media, and they see a lot more things. I feel like kids they see more things than we used to. Like, we were pretty sheltered without phones, and like the news was the news, but you don't watch that. That was boring,
Yeah, and there's that like weird phenomenon I think that comes along with being connected, where at the same time you can also feel much more isolated. So I think that Pixar does a really good job of doing stuff like that, of being very, like I said, at least now, very inclusive. Like, I have seen shorts and stuff on Disney Plus where they feature, like, as a main part of the short is a mentally challenged person or something like that.
Right.
You don't get that with a lot of other animated studios because they don't have maybe the muscle or the like reputation to go out and try those.
Yeah, I mean, they got to the top, I would say, in terms of animation. Like, anything Pixar does, everybody views as the gold standard of animation. Like, I forget what the Lightworks, I think, or whoever does like the Minion stuff, DreamWorks and everything.
DreamWorks,
like,
yeah,
they're renowned, they're well known, but nobody talks about Shark's Tale over Finding Nemo. Like, it had Shrek, but that was 17 years ago at this point. Like. And yeah, How to Train Your Dragon was a pretty good series and everything. But overall, I think Pixar has got like this top spot, and they use that, I think, in a good way. Like, I just talked about how like it impacts people and everything. Another thing that this guy mentioned in the interview is like how when kids are growing up around that age, you see like a sense of like loss in self-confidence and self-esteem, and parents are usually like, what's going on? And he's like, maybe people think like, oh, maybe you should put her on medication, but this film says that like it's just a part of growing up and it's okay. That's the message of the movie, is like sadness isn't bad. And a lot of these articles talk about like the Western perception of like sadness is a bad thing, bury it down, be happy all the time. And this movie kind of highlights that. And granted, the plot kind of doesn't. That's how I feel so weird about this movie, because I love the message behind it, but how it's delivered, I'm just like, eh.
Yeah.
could have been a little bit more impactful with the sadness, I guess. Like where you realize her real strength when like consoles Bing Bong. But and that sounds stupid as fuck, that sentence.
Consoling Bing Bong. I think we have a title.
Yeah. But actually, yeah, maybe. But I think that I don't know what I was gonna say. Devante, say.
I don't know. Shout out to the 2 Cloud people who got, murdered in their house, and the police just goes, "It's Cloud Town." I was like, what?
That's fair. I forgot about you said Bing Bong was a murderer, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. No, he killed 2 Cloud people.
Actually, so I do remember what I was gonna say now. Is I think Pixar does a really good job of also engaging with the adults, so that when you say like when kids are growing up and their parents get taken aback by this certain like onslaught of emotions and stuff, I think that Pixar helps reminds like parents that their kids are people too, and they're growing up probably experiencing a lot of the same changes that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it helps parents understand their kids a little bit better, as like it helps kids understand the world a little bit better. So maybe I think that's part of what helps Pixar do well.
And that's absolutely why that's like my main point of watching movies. Like my biggest thing is like, what is the movie trying to tell me? What's the central message behind this? And if it's just Hollywood needed another thing to put out and like it's a fun ride, sure, I can enjoy it for a little bit. But like that, I mean, I can talk about the MCU day and night because there's always there's some message behind it. And sometimes it's more overt, with like Guardians 2 in terms of like, with Yondu and everything, or sometimes it's a little bit more like downplayed where you just get the one scene with Hawkeye talking about like being an Avenger if you go out there and face your fears in Ultron. I don't mean to make everything about the MCU, but like I can't help it. But like that's what draws me to movies, and I think that's why overall I can say I enjoyed this movie. Is like it might not have been exactly what I wanted, but the core substance of it is something that's really I can respect it, and I can be like, you know what, that's a good thing to get behind. And when if I ever have kids and they get to the age 10, 11, 12, like around there, I'm going to watch this movie and I will just bawl my goddamn eyes out as I watch it. Would you suggest this movie? Is this a fun movie to watch if you don't have kids even?
I think it's okay. Like I think the message behind, like you said, the message behind it is really strong, but I don't think it was portrayed enough to be in like my top 10 Pixar movies.
I would still say watch it. I still liked it, but it was to a lesser degree. Like, I wouldn't hype it up as much as it was hyped up for me over like the span of 5 years.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I'd be about in that same boat. If you're a kid or around that age, or if you're a parent, it's perfect. If you're not, you might enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe you're close to like a cousin that just grew up around that age. But for me, it's like it's okay. It gets the job done. It's a nice Pixar film. Last question. Sorry, so there was one question. This is not the third one. But did you cry?
No.
No, I didn't cry. Especially because you were watching me. We watched this on Zoom.
I wasn't watching you, man. I was like staring at you like, how does Joey feel about it? No.
I want the listener to know that he did stare at me.
No. I did tear up a little bit, but when the girl breaks down, it says, I just want to go home, and I just moved out of my parents' place for the first time, like, you could say that sentence and get some type of emotional reaction out of me.
Yeah, I would say I teared up a little bit, but I didn't cry.
Yeah. So maybe they're not tear jerkers because they can't jerk the tears out well enough, at least for this one. But I will cry during Soul. I don't know about you. We got that coming.
No matter what.
Yeah, I have
Jamie Foxx, please stop. All right, so we can wrap it up right there. Let us know what you thought of this episode. If you're enjoying the smaller, where we keep 3 people on the as opposed to 4 or 5, it's got a whole bunch. If you like this topic, we can always do more Pixar episodes if you want to make us cry a little bit more, or just slightly tear up if you're Joey. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you want to listen, we're most likely there. If we're not, let us know. We'll try to make it work. We post almost every Sunday, like I said. In November, we're going to be posting on the 19th with a video game theme episode, changing up our structure a little bit. And then on the 26th, Thanksgiving will be our fun holiday Thanksgiving themed kind of extravaganza. If we get 60 lessons, something cool will happen. That's all I can say. And if we get 20 subscriptions on YouTube, you'll get to see us talk. It's only 8 away, so please go ahead and do that if you watch on YouTube. But if you enjoyed this, share it with somebody. If you didn't, let us know why not. But overall, we thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Tom, what's going to be our topic next week?
Next week we'll be discussing my absence from the Pause Button podcast, as I will no longer be featured and or editing the podcast. I am taking a leave from the podcast to pursue other endeavors, but also I have taken it upon myself to hire an extra hand by the name of Jimothy Smithers, so you can expect his shitty edits in the near future.
Oh, God, Tom. No.
Pixar can't make me cry, but Tom can.
Goodbye.
That's
So
not don't start singing. We don't want to pay copyright. If
To
we don't,
you, my...
no, if we can't pay for Lean on Me, we can't pay for that either.
Devante's just sabotaging the episode.
We have to cut all that now. All right. That will be that. But for now.
Now we're going to hit pause.